What's going on, Nerd Army guys? Welcome to the newest episode of Exploring Comics. Today, guys, we are going to sit back and ask the question, who is Black Lightning? We're going to talk about that character, and we're going to talk about his comic book origins. So let's get right into it with the help of my friend Devonte from Alternative Factuals. Here we go. Black Lightning would make his way into DC Comics, and he would do so by making his mark in history altogether. He would be the first African-American superhero to hold his own title in DC Comics, which is awesome. But Jefferson Pierce as a character was so much more. When Jefferson Pierce made his first appearance in comics, he would do so as a man that wanted to help his community and help clean up the suicide slums of Metropolis. This would lead to him donning a superpowered suit that would give him the powers, and he would go by the name Black Lightning. After excessive use of the suit, Jefferson would adapt the abilities that the suit gave him, meaning his body would physically and completely change at a cellular level, given the abilities of electrical manipulation, meaning now his body was able to generate electricity. But when he's not fighting crime, Jefferson Pierce is a hero in his own right. He is actually shaping the minds of youngsters as a teacher. After he competed in the Olympics, he would actually return to his home in the suicide slums of Metropolis and go to work at his old school as a teacher. Now, the suicide slums of Metropolis were controlled by the vicious street gang, the 100. So one day at school, Jefferson actually caught a 100 gang member trying to sell one of his students drugs. And what he did is he grabbed that thug, he drug him out in the front of the school and tossed him out on the street. The thug, as hurt as he was, and often what they do is they threaten, they vow, I'm gonna get you, you're gonna pay. And so, just like thugs do, he vowed to get his revenge. Now, the 100 would quickly retaliate, just like they said they would. And with the help of one of his students, Earl Clifford, he would be able to drive this retaliation back away from the school and send the 100 punks running. Now, the 100 would once again retaliate, and this time they would want to make an example, so that way they know they're not screwing around. What they would do is they would actually kill Earl, the young man that helped Jefferson throw the punks off of the school grounds. When they killed him, they would actually hang him up on the basketball hoop and display him for the whole school to see, so they know the 100 runs these streets. Now, at this time, Jefferson would visit the home of a dear family friend, Peter Gamby. Gamby would help him design a suit that he can go out and use the powers the suit would give him to retaliate against the 100 and take them down once and for all, them and their leader, Tobias Whale. At this point, we would actually learn that Jefferson's father was a local grocer who was actually shot by a stray round from a hitman nearby. So at this point, this is how Jefferson thought his father had died. But it was also at this point that he would realize that Peter had just moved to town right when his father had been killed. Yet Peter went out of his way to make sure he looked out for Jefferson as he grew up and made sure he turned out to be a good young man, and also led him to becoming Black Lightning. And we'd also find out that Gamby hung around and took care of Jefferson because he felt guilty. It turned out that he was the hitman that had actually shot Jefferson's father with that stray round. He was the one that was responsible for Jefferson's father's death, so he felt guilty, so he helped raise the boy and make sure he would grow up to be a strong, good man. Now, eventually, Peter would actually get killed, but the way that it would happen was so touching. He would do what any good father would do, and he would protect Jefferson by jumping in front of a bullet that was meant for him. He would jump in front of this bullet to protect Jefferson, who had essentially become a son to him, and Jefferson thought of him as a second father. Now, there's a lot of different versions of Black Lightning. Another one I do want to touch on is in 2009. In this series, Jefferson Pierce would come back to the suicide slums just like he did before, but this time he would come back with his wife and daughter. Now, in this iteration, Jefferson's father was a newspaper reporter that dug a little too deep into Tobias Whale, and Tobias Whale killed him. This would blow Jefferson out of the water, and he would take to the streets in a blue and yellow hoodie and go out there and start wrecking the 100 crew. He would eventually tell his family that he is Black Lightning, and they would already have figured it out and present him with his own costume, which was a really cool little twist, and I really did enjoy that quite a bit. Now to give you a little bit more of a rundown on Black Lightning from the CW's TV show Black Lightning, we're going to go to Devonte from Alternative Factual. So bro, take it away.
Jumping right into it, Jefferson Pierce, also known as Black Lightning, is originally depicted as a school teacher from the crime-ridden suicide slum area of Metropolis in the comic books, but in the TV series we're referring to the town, well, more like the city of Freeland. Black Lightning's origins simplify his story to depicting him as a metahuman with the inborn ability to manipulate and generate electricity. But in the series, they allow him to only be able to manipulate electricity and not necessarily generate it from his own cells like they did previously in the original Black Lightning comics. Tony Isabella, an experienced writer having done work for Luke Cage, another prominent black hero in Marvel Comics, was signed to develop DC's first black starring character in DC Comics back in the 1970s. Now in the TV show, Black Lightning has an overwhelming desire to help his students in the TV series to prevent them from joining the notorious 100 gang. After being retired for about 10 years, he dons the costume to help retrieve his daughters when Lala's cousin kidnaps him and holds him hostage in a motel of Freeland. After that night, Jefferson Pierce started to notice that there were some large activities going on in Freeland and that he needed to help out and don the costume officially back as Black Lightning. Now over the course of season 1, he starts to realize that there are a lot more things than meets the eye going on in Freeland, and that there are a lot of government as well as even gang related activities that have a lot more holdings in the city's infrastructure than he initially thought when he first came out as a superhero. The first layer of the problem was the series involved not only the 100 gang pushing out levels of drugs, also known as green light in the series, but the government funding programs pushing these drugs in the community of Freeland intentionally. Series like these tend to draw a lot of parallels to the effect of the government and the war on drugs that took place in the 1980s in the black communities and the scandals that involved the United States pushing drugs into black communities to break up black families. Despite Jefferson being relatively a street level hero, he was always determined throughout the whole series to save his neighborhood as well as his family. This time around, the reason why he might actually succeed is because not only is it him, but he also has his family as well as Gambi and other people who help make him do these kind things for his neighborhood in order to prevent this from happening for future generations. Now, one of the things about Black Lightning's abilities is even though it's not like his comic book counterparts that took place in the early 80s, 90s and whatnot, but Black Lightning can absorb ambient energy and channel it through his body and can manipulate that energy to target anything or any person. Black Lightning is a specialist when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. He is trained in martial arts and he is a relatively in-shape guy. Jefferson Pierce has an Olympic level body in terms of his shape. He was able to outrun some of the fastest people in the world, and even into his 40s he still maintained a lot of his strength. Even on a basic level, he's able to keep up with human beings even without his powers. Even without his electric abilities, he will still be able to pose a threat for an average human being.
So guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. It has been a lot of fun doing this video with Devonte, and we've had a good time talking about Black Lightning, who is a badass character. If you guys haven't checked out the CW's Black Lightning show, go sit down, stream it all. It's on Netflix. You could check it on out. If you have not checked out the CW's Black Lightning TV show, you need to sit down and stream that and just binge the heck out of it because it is a great show. Definitely check it out. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Go over to Devonte's channel. It'll be linked down in the description down below. And make sure you check out our next video on Tobias Whale. All right, guys. I'll see you next time. All right. Peace out.